Cigarro. Hey guys and girls, it's me, Super Rocket, and Sonic the Hedgehog, at least in the main Sega video game universe, doesn't have an actual girlfriend. Yeah, sure, right now he is close friends with a girl hedgehog, but that's pretty much the extent of it right now. But there was a time where this beloved, blue blur was actually going to have an actual video game relationship with a Manx known as Tiara, a character that was created for the cancelled Sega Saturn game known as Sonic Extreme, where she was specifically designed to, in a way, keep up with Sonic as well as have the same attitude as Sonic in a way. Hence the design they have laid out for her, which, yeah, you can tell with the sports-like attire and such. This could have been a very interesting relationship to mess around with in the narrative of Sonic Extreme, considering the fact that they're both technically, in a way, have the same aspects of their personality. It could have led to some very interesting ways in how they handle the typical, I guess, couple goals in a way. They could have been the most powerful power couple to ever live. But what exactly were the narratives that they were going to utilize to introduce this brand new character into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, let's find out. All three versions of the Sonic Extreme story. Our first story dates back when this was originally going to be a Sega 32X add-on game for the Sega Genesis, as well as being under the name Sonic Mars instead. If you're wondering, I have no idea why it's called that, especially since it has nothing to do with Mars, and it has more to do with a virtual world known as Micro Mobius that Tiara Cyberuski would have been the princess of. Of course, this is very similar to the background that Sally Acorn had, a character from the beloved 90s Saturday morning Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, who she is, of course, the princess of Mobotropolis, the city found on planet Mobius. And this isn't a coincidence because the developers were also going to bring in Princess Sally Acorn into the mix of this game and kind of form some sort of love triangle between her, Tiara, and Sonic the Hedgehog, which makes sense. There's a very interesting conflict there because on one hand you have a princess who can manage Sonic's rebelliousness, and on the other hand you have a princess who embraces Sonic's rebelliousness. At the tail end of the game, Sonic rescues Tiara and then she walks off one way while Sally walks off the other. Afterwards, the player actually gets to choose who player 2 will play as, technically choosing your particular partner for the final battle. So yeah, Sega was gonna let you choose your ship in a way, which is a very bold decision, I guess. I mean, I kind of feel like you probably want to have one main love interest to be more better for marketing and such, but hey, bold on them to do that way back when. But of course, eventually this game was moved to the Sega Saturn, and then there was brand new management involved and decided to just push away all stuff related to the freedom fighters and that beloved Saturday morning cartoon. Which, I mean, is understandable. If you're going to be introducing a brand new character like Tiara, who is definitely almost as close to Sonic as you could get when it comes to personality, it's a bit weird that you would also bring in Princess Sally Acorn, which kind of overshadows her in a way, because you know it's literally the TV show characters becoming full-on video game characters. Of course, people will really think of it as a big deal. So I understand why they didn't go for this approach and go with the second story we have here, which admittedly is very weird, all things considered. I'm just gonna say it out loud right now. But hey, at least it focuses on Tiara a bit more. So in this story, Tiara sent a message to Sonic the Hedgehog saying that they should go on a date. But the only problem is it's getting dark. And if Sonic is late to the party, well, you know, Tiara will be very annoyed and be very impatient. Kind of gives you hints as to how similar these characters could potentially be, since Sonic is also known for being annoyed and impatient in the beloved idol animations. But yeah, of course, Sonic has to make haste, but there's also another problem in the form of Dr. Robotnik, who decided for some reason to use a weird laser to shoot down onto the Earth and kind of warp all of reality to make it difficult for Sonic to get to his date. Yeah, this is going to be the story for Sonic's big 3D debut. So to make it up to Tiara for being late, possibly, he decided to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds to make a necklace for her. Yeah, you know, the most powerful gems in the world, literally capable of summoning literal gods. Sonic was gonna make it jewelry for his girlfriend. As bizarre as this sounds, it does kind of make sense since they were trying to give Tiara the same wavelength and the ability to keep up with Sonic in a way. And it kind of opens the door as to all the crazy scenarios you could have done with this couple being different from the typical relationship you see in movies and TV shows and you name it. I mean, just imagine them going on dinner while fighting a big monster that Eggman has summoned again. I mean, maybe something with less tonal clash, but you get the point. So considering the fact that this is a very silly plot for Sonic's Sega Saturn 3D debut, they decided to alter it to make it more like what you would expect from a Sonic game. Also, this is where the princess from Micro Mobius was technically scrapped entirely. It's kind of vague if it was actually in the second story, but now it's completely removed. Now she is no longer Tiara Cyberowski, but Tiara Bubowski. After the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Eggman was like, yoink. With the Master Emerald at his possession, he decided to waste no time and breaks it open. Similar to another beloved Sonic the Hedgehog project, Sonic the Comic. But in this game, breaking it open gave him poisoning and he has no idea how to cure himself, so he forms a nice elaborate plan. Dr. Eggman was able to capture Tiara and then gave her the same poisoning he had. Hence, when Sonic swoops in and saves the day, Sonic also gets the poisoning and the two have to work together to figure out what is the cure with the assistance of Tiara's father, Professor Bubowski. So yeah, this is much more better for a Sonic the Hedgehog plot, especially one that's gonna debut Sonic in 3D. And I also like that this gives Tiara a lot more involvement in the plot because I kind of feel like this is where they decided to make her a playable character, which makes sense, and I'm glad they did because considering how much they advertise her to be just as good as Sonic is in terms of running fast and doing all the stuff Sonic does, you never really get to see that since she was in the sidelines in Story 1 and Story 2. But here it kind of makes sense, and the gameplay was very interesting since it's a homage to the regular Sonic gameplay, which again makes sense considering her background. And it also has some fun 3D capabilities, an early style of the whole Donkey Kong Country Returns barrel jumping. But thus, this was the last time we saw Tiara in the narrative of Sonic X-Treme. Yeah, sure, they did come up with other stories for the game, some being very eerily similar to stories we find in the later games. But yeah, soon enough, the entire project was canned. With her only other technically official appearance being in the Archie comics as a cameo. Ironically enough, in the issue where Sonic and Sally broke up. Ian Flynn did have plans to bring Tiara as well as her father into the Archie comics for reals, but apparently there's some weird legal shenanigans involving her that we have no idea and will probably never know about, which is a bit unfortunate. But hey, I'm not too bothered by it. As much as it would be cool to see Tiara again, as well as other characters like Sally Acorn and all the other stuff that was created in America or even Europe with the Sonic the Comic, I kind of feel like it's best right now for Sega and Sonic team to focus on the characters that they already have right now and just flesh them out a lot more. And Amy is a good example of that. I'm really happy with what they're doing right now with Amy and Sonic Frontiers and even Sonic Prime. And I hope they continue further down the line as well. But hey, not all hope is lost because look at what fan base you're dealing with here. One of my favorite projects that people create in the community are the ones that in no shape or form is Sega going to be releasing officially because yeah, There's no way that Sega would make something as crazy as a 16-bit version of Sonic Triple Trouble, but leave it to the fans to do it and make something pretty dang stellar. So who knows, maybe one day somebody will think of a crazy idea for a storyline involving Tiara Bubowski and share it to the world. Despite the fact that she was created in America and not the typical Sega of Japan circle, she fits right in with the rest of the cast. One of her designs, at least, that Chris Sen, the main developer of the game, favors the most, does fit well with the other characters. And of course the name Tiara fits well with the typical Sonic naming conventions of just being words like Tails, Knuckles, and even Amy, which is spelled like this in Japan, is technically the Japanese word for smile. And of course, her personality and her role in the Sonic Extreme game could have really impacted the Sonic universe and make her a mainstay throughout the years if Sonic Extreme actually happened. But yeah, that is all just a what if. So that's pretty much it for this fun little video I decided to create for you all. So with that said, until then guys and gals, life is a pineapple patch. Oh god, my legs. Oh.